Hey y'all, Jeff here at Back to Country. Well, if you've been following along, you probably noticed I haven't put any videos out lately. And maybe you've been wondering why. Well, I guess I don't really have any excuse, just been a little bit down. This trip has been a bit of frustration. Unfortunately, the weather has just not cooperated. I mean, it has rained and rained and rained, and even on days when it didn't rain, it still sprinkled, or it was just nasty and too muddy to do anything. So I feel like I've been up here for, I don't know, 3 weeks, and I've accomplished nothing. Now that's sad. I think this is probably the first trip that I've made that I really am leaving without feeling like I accomplished anything. So looking at the rain gauge here, I've got 3/4 of an inch. So that fell yesterday and overnight. And now we got a cold spell coming. So it's almost Christmas, and over the Christmas weekend, temperatures in Texas are gonna drop down pretty low, and we're gonna stay below freezing for a few days. And so now I need to winterize things before I can get on the road and head back to the city, stay with the family for Christmas. After Christmas, Lorena and my daughter are heading down to Mexico to spend some time with her parents. And yeah, so I want to get home and spend some time with them and with my son before they hit the road, and of course over Christmas. So I gotta get this RV out and get it winterized. But man, it's a mess. I mean, I'm just trying to clean some things up, you know, looking at anything that can freeze and break. You know, I don't care if some stuff freezes, but if it you know, like water expands and breaks my jugs and stuff like that, that's not good. Well, today I'm doing a little prepping. So if y'all remember February of 21, that was what they called Snowmageddon in Texas. It just got darn cold. Regardless of how much snow you got cold. And one of the things that happened to us out here on the property is our water filter froze. It was full of water, and it was inside an insulated storage container, and it stayed so cold for so long that the whole water filter froze and busted it busted some filters, it busted all the housings. It was a mess, and it cost me a few $100s to replace everything. So we're not taking chances this year. Word on the street is we got some cold weather coming again this year, and we're gonna be prepared for it. So what I'm doing today is I'm winterizing or draining the water filter. Check it out. So I've already removed 3 of the filters, and we're just dumping out the water and letting them drain. You can see this big solid core sediment filter. It is still, I've dumped it several times, and it's still draining into the bottom there. So we'll just keep dumping it until it's pretty much gone. This spin down filter is pretty easy to empty. You just open the valve and it drains out. So no big deal on that one. But those other, the big blues, you gotta unscrew them all. So that's what we're doing. We're taking them off and dumping the water out. And of course, I always save my water. I don't just dump it on the ground. So that's why I got a bucket. We'll find other ways to reuse it. Well, folks, it's about 45 degrees out right now, and surprisingly, the bees are flying. Not a lot of activity, just a few coming and going, but you know, maybe the sun is a little bit warmer than the ambient temperature, I don't know. But surprised to see any bees flying at all, but sure enough, they're, you know, coming here and there, just a few coming and going. But that's amazing. So anyway, what we're doing today is we're just doing some winterizing. So looking at the weather calendar, it's going to get colder, and I think at the end of the week, just before Christmas, it's going to get real cold. The high will be, I think, in the 20s, low around 8 degrees. So, you know, that's pretty cold for around here. That's not normal. They're talking about, you know, snowmageddon-like temperatures for a couple days. So, we're working to winterize everything. And really what we do for our bees down here in, well, northeast Texas, it doesn't really get that cold. And when it does, it doesn't stay that cold for very long. So, typically all we do is we put in the mite board. So basically we use screened bottom boards, and just to hold the heat in a little better, we put the mite board in at the bottom to kind of just close the hive up a little bit, and hopefully that you know, keeps the wind out a little more or whatever, and helps the bees out. We've still got a a moving screen on the front of this hive because it's been our intent to move this hive, and we have not done it yet. So still something we plan to do definitely before the swarm season gets here, because this big oak tree behind the hive here, so there's the hive and this big giant oak tree, that's always where we hang our swarm trap, and we've caught every swarm on that tree. So the other ones we put out have never caught a swarm yet. We've tried different locations, but this tree, consistently, they come to it and go and move into our swarm traps. So we don't want another hive sitting here when we're going to be catching some swarms, just because it may make the bees think twice about moving in there. So anyway, that's what we're doing. So we added the mite board to that to close it up a little bit. I don't think I'm going to do anything else with it right now. And when I come back, probably in January, I'll work on getting this hive moved. And yeah, next thing we got to do is start to winterize the RV. Because leaving that here, it'll definitely freeze up, and we don't want none of our pipes breaking in there. So we're going to have to get all the water out of it and everything, so that it's ready for the cold temps. Anyway, that's where we're at. Stick with us. Let's see how it goes. So I bought some of this antifreeze for my RV. We'll do that in our winterization. I got all these water jugs that I use to haul water up, and they're still full, but I think they're small enough that they could freeze and possibly break my jugs. So I think I'm going to dump them into this tank. This is like a 35-gallon tank. And hopefully the thermal mass of that tank will be enough to prevent freeze. And it's a lot heavier plastic anyway, so hopefully that'll do it. Alright, I've been working to get everything loaded and ready to go. Last thing left to do is to winterize the RV. So let me show you what the plan is. Alright, so here we've got our hot water heater. So the first thing we're going to do is drain the hot water heater by removing this drain plug. Once the hot water heater is empty, then we're going to work to drain all the lines. We've already drained the tanks, our holding tanks. We've drained our freshwater tank. Alright, this is a 96. This is the original water heater, so it's a little bit old. So this plug is pretty well rounded off, but it's plastic, so it's still pretty easy to get off. Hopefully that loosened it enough, and now we can unscrew it by hand. And you can see that's a plastic plug. We do put some Teflon tape on it to seal it up. I'm going to open that to let some air in, so it of course flows out faster. And yeah, I hate to waste water out here, but I'd rather waste the water than have it freeze and break something in the system. So it is what it is. So now we're going to drain our lines, and then we're going to run air into the system to blow out all of the remaining water in the lines. So we made this fitting. It's basically a garden hose, reduced. It's got a 1/2 inch at the back. We had to reduce that down to a 1/4 inch pipe fitting, and then we put this quick connect for our air compressor. So we're going to pump air compressor into the city feed and use that air to blow out all the lines. Alright, so we've got our small air compressor. You don't need nothing giant. We're only running at about 30 pounds per square inch, so low pressure. We don't want to blow any lines or anything crazy. We got that hooked up, running air into the system. And then we come over here and see that it's, you know, just kind of pushing out the rest of the water from the water heater, and probably clearing some water in the hot water or the cold water line just flowing backwards. But once we get most of the water out of there, we are going to go in and flush all the lines, open those up, and then we're going to open some low spots that are made for winterizing. So that's kind of where we're at on that. Alright, so we've hand tightened that back on there. It's not dripping, but it's not, we didn't put any new tape on it or anything, so it's not a good seal. We just want to close that off so we can pressurize the system a little bit and try to flush the other lines. Now we're inside of the kitchen sink. We're going to do the hot water side first and see what comes out. Not too bad. Now we'll try the cold water side. Okay, we'll come back to that. That's surprising. Seems to be a lot of water in there, so let's try clearing the bathroom next. Surprising how much water is coming out of there. So we'll keep this up until we've got pretty much just air. We'll keep going to every faucet and trying to clear the line. So pretty much just air coming out now. We've got about all the water out of there. And we do that at every single faucet. Now this particular RV, the water tank is under the bed. It's not a very big water tank, but there's the pump. This piece right here is if we want to put antifreeze into the system. We're not going to do that. We're just draining it good. We're blowing all the water out, making sure there's nothing left in there. The tank, there's barely anything in the bottom of it. If it freezes, it's not enough to do any damage to the tank, so no big deal. And then we've got these lines right here. That's the low water lines, or low point, I guess, in the system. And so we basically open those lines until we don't hear anything flowing through it anymore. So that one's done. The hot side. Come loose. There it goes. And I can feel water flowing through that. Now I can hear it mixing with air and blowing. And so that goes to the outside. It's just blowing it out. And so that's emptying all the water out of those lines. That's the lowest point in the system. So that's how we're winterizing this thing. And then the next thing we're going to do is put some antifreeze down the sink drain, both sink drains, and that's just so that we got antifreeze in the P-trap, so the water that's in there doesn't freeze and break our P-traps. And that's all there is to winterizing in Texas anyway. All right, so this is the RV Marine antifreeze, the pink stuff. You get it from Walmart, and we're going to pour that down the sinks so that the P-traps will not freeze.